Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Nedling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome everyone to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Nedling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. And the goal of this podcast is to bring guests and topics that will empower you to become strong, confident leaders, take your business or your life to the next level. Today, I am very pleased to have Deanna, is it Kuempel?
Yes, Kuempel.
Yes, so you're kind of like my name. That first vowel is no needed.
That is correct. German all the way.
That's exactly right. All right, let me tell you a little bit about Deanna. She is a human trafficking survivor, a widow, a former C-level executive, fashion designer, bodybuilder, skincare expert, Ms. Chicago America Nation 2021, and now is a podcast host. She has lived a very big life with lots and lots of experience. And when she decides to do something, she goes big. Deanna is a hardcore entrepreneur hustler. She has closed $20 million deals, ran 5 businesses at one time, and she's settled nine different lawsuits in a year for different businesses. That's a lot of stuff going on, my dear. A lot of stuff.
Yes, it is. Quite a bit. It's like, I did all that? Jeez.
I know. That's a lot.
Listening to it.
There are so many things that we could talk about, but I really think that the title or the topic that I want to talk about today is one that needs to be talked about. And you have personal experience, so I think it will bring a lot of insights in. And, you know, as we, especially female entrepreneurs, go out there into the world, you know, we need to be aware of these things and use our voice.
Yes.
So our topic is human trafficking awareness. Please welcome Deanna Kuempel.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I was really excited whenever I got your request from Podmatch. I have had some friends of mine that have gone through this, and it's such a tragic story, but it's not as well known as we would think.
No.
You know, and people kind of think, well, that happened years ago or whatever, and it's not the case. And it's scary, especially if you're a mom of a young daughter or son.
Yeah. That's
going out to college and to travel the world and experience great new things. And you just have to worry. So I am happy that you could share a little bit. And I always start out with simple question before we get into the heavy stuff. And just tell everybody where you live right now. What your part of the country do you live in?
I'm in Chicago, Illinois, Midwestern.
You have that Chicago accent. It's such a great accent.
I do. I don't even. I've never.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
That's funny.
So go ahead and just tell us your story. Give us that background.
Well, I'm the oldest of 5. My father was very abusive to my mother and myself. Ended up being a total deadbeat when I was about 15, 16 years old. And I unfortunately perpetuated the pattern of getting involved with abusive men. And I, stumbled upon had a bad boyfriend and introduced me to that lifestyle, and just, I got not heavily, but I did a lot of drugs, He had actually abducted me one time and stabbed me. I almost killed me.
Oh,
And,
wow.
that essentially was the end of that relationship, that life, was because that was a big wake up call. But, had I been more aware of what that looks like and what that means, like if we're taught about it, because they don't
Mm,
teach you that in high school,
right.
I think that my life would have definitely went in a different direction. But you go through experiences to really kind of create the person that you are. And it I mean I can't be ashamed of that part of my life. It is what happened, and I got through it. Luckily, I'm still alive. I
Yeah.
didn't turn into a drug addict, or not still on the street. So I'm blessed in that regard. But it did become more in the last couple of years, more of a reason for me to spread awareness, because
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant. And then once I got into it, because human trafficking means a lot of different things, it can be, you're being molested by family members or a close friend, your boyfriend passes you around to his friends, or also sex work, which was, the last two were what I had been involved with. And it's not, and it's just, you think that you don't have a choice because of the situation that you're in, people that you're around. And I think that had I known some of the things then, what I know now, it would have been completely different.
Yeah. It's one of those things. And I'm glad that you said the fact that everything that you went through made you who you are today.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people, especially as you're going through it, think, oh, why me?
Yeah.
But I always, there's a purpose, you know? I
Sure.
really think there's a higher purpose, and those life, excuse me, those life lessons for you made you the strong woman that you are today.
I'd like to
Um,
think so.
yeah. And it also, it's, to tell your story, if you just reach one person to
Oh
save
yeah.
them, it's worth it. It
Yeah.
truly is.
Hmm.
So you shared a little bit about your issues with your boyfriend, and when you were in that situation, was it, I want to get out, or was there a time where it's like, well, this isn't so bad, you know?
I think that, I was so young, I was 17, so very young, that, my life was just so chaotic. I was out of high school and, trying to go out on my own because I didn't want to be at home with my mom. And, I was just out of control. And
Yeah.
so I think that once you get caught up in that out of control chaos, it's hard to get out of it. And you know, there were some good times and there were a lot of bad times, but I think that once you kind of like grow up a little bit and get yourself out of the chaos, things start looking a little bit differently.
So how do you get out of the chaos? What steps did you take to take you from that craziness to getting your life back in order, if you will?
I I've I went to start seeing a counselor. I had to start doing something to fix myself, just mentally and emotionally, from what I've been through,
Right.
not only as a little girl, but I didn't want to attract men like that anymore. And so, I went to counseling for quite a while just to kind of work on myself. I got involved in martial arts, so like I could be more disciplined. And I got involved into bodybuilding. I was, became a personal trainer, aerobics instructor at Women's Workout World when they were still around. So, I did a lot of things just to start fixing myself and healing myself, because I thought, like, this is not the kind of life I want to lead. I
Yeah.
don't want to. I can't continue going down this path. I'm not gonna. I won't be alive for much longer.
Now I've had quite a few people that we talked about self-care, and when you talk about the bodybuilding, taking your mind, or putting your mind in a place where your body is something to take care of, to treasure, this vessel, this, rather than abuse, I think is a great stepping stone. Um, how how long did it take you to go into, get into the bodybuilding to really start to have a lot more self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence?
Bodybuilding is a very interesting sport. So like, the men's side is obviously very hardcore. I competed in figure, which is, more about the aesthetics, definitely having muscle tone, and my build is perfect for that division. Every time that I've prepared for a show to compete, it's an interesting process where you yourself grow internally, not only on the outside, but internally is just for me personally, I can't speak for anybody else because it's a very selfish sport, and a lot of people do stupid things that are involved in that, and don't really the narcissist. A lot of narcissists in that sport. Me personally, I looked at it as an opportunity to grow and to improve on things that are going on the inside, and so
Mhm.
every single time I came out on the other side of it, just a more deeper connected person.
Yeah.
And I enjoy the process. I know it's not for everybody. The dieting is very, very strict. You're training like 2 3 hours a day. So but for me, I enjoyed it. I loved it because it was just a good way to exercise that discipline, because we get so undisciplined in our life. We have everything at our fingertips: fast food, wake up
Hmm.
late, or go watch TV all night. Like there's other things that we can do for ourselves that are better, that will yield us good outcomes.
So what do you do today?
Today, as
Yeah.
far as
Do you do yoga? Do you
oh,
do?
I do it all. Yeah, I
Yeah.
try to do 2 a days. I'm getting remarried, so I'm
Oh, congratulations.
thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm in a kind of prep mode again, getting ready for a wedding.
I'll have
So
to I have to send you some of my anti-aging wellness stuff so you prep for that wedding day. That's awesome.
excellent. Sounds good.
So let's just kind of pivot from you were not so great, you got your life in order, did counseling, got your body in shape. Now you're into business.
Hmm.
So how did you close a $20 million contract?
A lot of people ask me that question. I actually closed several multi-million-dollar contracts, but that was the biggest win, the one I had to fight the hardest for. I was great at doing contracts. I am naturally a business savvy woman. I think, some people are born with that more of those
Yeah.
skills than others, and that's something that I was definitely born with. Um, as I was my late husband and I worked side by side, I did a lot of contracts with, different states and cities over the years. And so I really learned how to finesse that process with the purchasing or the procurement person. And
Mm.
so that was a lot of building a relationship with the procurement manager, trying to find out what they're looking for the bid, because it was a bid. It was open to everybody, anybody
Hmm.
that can build remanufactured transmissions. And so like I put a lot of detail into my submission, which ultimately won us the contract. I mean, it did get challenged, so we had to hire an attorney to fight for it. But I mean, $20 million, who wouldn't do that,
Yeah, right.
So, but it was, I was very much on top of the procurement manager, and it's just like with anything, it's all about building relationships,
Yeah.
and asking the right questions and making sure you're paying attention to detail. Because when you're
Yeah.
submitting a contract for a state bid, there's a lot of stuff in there that's hidden. That if you go through each number, like item, what they're looking for, you need to address every single one on how you can fulfill the bid.
Wow. Awesome. So detail oriented.
Yes.
So how does the detail oriented mindset, business mindset set help you with fashion?
Fashion was a completely different animal. I love my clothes. I'm a fashionista through and through. I
Me too.
always will be, but that was a completely different animal. I had always told my late husband I wanted to get into fashion. He's like, "Oh, that's great. Once this business takes off, it was always when this next business,
Yeah.
so it never ever happened with him. And so after he passed, I was like, I'm going to chase my dream. I got a little bit of money and I found a consulting company out of Soho, New York, which is, the fashion
Hmm.
capital of the United States. And I was just so eager to get involved in that and to start my brand that I didn't do a lot of research. I didn't go to school for fashion. I knew how to sew. I made a lot of my own clothes when I was younger, like that. I knew how to do all that stuff, but there's so many steps into creating like your shirt. There are a thousand steps to make it come to life. And I could have saved myself a lot of money had I done my research and sourced out a lot of the things that the consulting company did for me. But I wouldn't have known the steps to take if I didn't go to them. So it was like a catch-22.
Yeah.
I think with being detail oriented, I mean, it's like what your fashion sense is. If you're detail oriented, your fashion is going to reflect that. And so I made beautiful high end leather, silk, high end cotton pieces that were just stunning. I was on the runway at Fashion Week in oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. I was a finalist here for the Cadillac Design Challenge here in Style Chicago.
Wow.
Oh, Style Week in Rhode Island. There we go. Sorry, I was forgetting where I was, but I created a great brand. I mean, I had the branding down, no problem. People are funny about their clothes. It's a tough industry to get into and to be successful at.
Yeah.
And I went to a fashion networking event here about a week or so ago, and the people that were on the board that were speaking were talking about how it is like a good old boys club. Like you got to be picked to be successful within that arena. So yeah, I was just like, it's good to hear that because that's how I had felt. It was very hard to break into that industry. So
my youngest went to SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, for film and fashion, and she ended up pursuing more of the fashion, got an internship in New York for 6 months. And New York, for a Georgia girl, she was just not happy there in enough to pursue that, which is a shame because she loved doing it, loves it. But it is a tough business.
Yeah, it was tough, but I did it. When I finally said I was done creating my last collection, I had to tell myself it wasn't a failure. I tried. Most people would not chase their dreams. So I chased my dream. I was lucky enough to have the resources at the time to invest in it. And I went out with a bang. I did my last collection at a charity event I put together against human trafficking here in the Chicagoland area. And we had about over 300 people, raised almost $30,000. I mean, it was a big event. It did very well. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. But I ended it with a bang. I showed my last collection there, and that's it. I was like, okay, we're done.
So good. So you mentioned several times that you are a widow and you're going to get married again.
Yes.
But how has being a widow allowed you to live life now with a purpose?
I don't wish having anyone to be a caretaker and watch their significant other die. It's not something. It's very surreal, and it really puts things in perspective. And it forever changed my life. For the last 2.5 years of his life, he needed his third kidney transplant because he was a big bodybuilder. That's how we met, at the gym. And, he was in and out of the hospital. It was like, it started off as once a month, then it was once every 2 weeks, then it was once a week. And then, that's where he passed away, was in the hospital. But you just watch someone lose their battle with life, and just like he did not have a fight in him anymore. He's like, he couldn't do it anymore. And so, that's why, hence label free podcast, like that's my show, is that because I had so many labels put on me, not only for myself from what I've been through in my past, but becoming a widow. And that title, and you tell people, when I started getting out there to try to date again, it was like, how dare you try to date? Like, I mean, it was not accepted. Or, I mean, even some people in my family were like, wow, you like, I was supposed to just sit in the corner and just shrivel up and kind of fade into the darkness, which I refused to do so because I was young enough to start my life over. I was blessed to be young enough to start my life over.
It's always better to share your life with someone.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, it's time for a rapid fire. So I want you to tell us about your podcast. What kind of guests do you have? What's your target audience? Tell us about it.
My guests they are all very different in what they do, but their message, the underlying connection is all the same. I recorded with a lady today that had checked all the boxes. She had the big house, the marriage, the kids, they made lots of money because they have businesses, but she was just not fulfilled or not happy at all. And so she found her purpose in becoming a coach's coach, basically. And I talk to people that have had similar stories, or a lot of entrepreneurs. So my audience are entrepreneurs because we talk about how we've broken out of different labels that have held us back and are living life on our own terms. It's really about finding your true purpose in life, which is ultimately fulfilling you as a human being.
Yeah, so very true. So what would be the top 2 things that you would like our audience to take away from this topic of human trafficking awareness?
I think that when somebody talks about it, or if you see something, pay attention, because when I did my event against human trafficking, it took me eight months to organize it and get it ready to put it on. The conversations I had with people, it made them uncomfortable, and they didn't realize it was very close to home, and they thought that they were immune to it, when really, like some of the main suburbs here in the Chicagoland area is a hub for human trafficking. They've got the FBI in there because it's so bad. And so it's more around you than you think. And to educate yourself and the people around you that you care about, you're going to hopefully save someone's life one day.
Yeah. So you said you got help. Where would you suggest people go if they are in a situation that they're trying to get out of?
I mean, there are so many different places. I mean, pretty much everybody has a mini computer in their pocket, right? We all have a smartphone. It's unheard of to not have one these days. You can Google search looking for help. I mean, it depends on what kind of help you want, but there are so many resources out there that are unreal that, people, they just have to look for it. Or if you find someone that you can trust, I mean, and they even have national numbers now that you can call. If you see something, say something that you can call as, being anonymous. So there are tons of resources. Or go to a church. Go to your police station, go to the fire station. If you're wanting to get out of that and wanting to save yourself, or, someone that needs help, there are tons of places or resources for them.
That's good to know. So, my dear, what is the next big thing besides the wedding? What is the next big thing for you?
I'm sure, as you know, being a podcaster has been a very interesting journey, and it's opened up a lot of different opportunities for me personally. I'd like to start a book about, some of the guests on my show, and like how they all are linked together, being label free, and just sharing that message. The podcast started out as a passion project, and it turned into so much more because so many people are aligned with that. And it just tells me that there's a lot of people out there in the world that feel suffocated by labels that are holding them back. And I think that my responsibility is to encourage people to live a life of purpose and not feeling held back, because, that's a really scary place to be.
Yeah. It's a label free podcast. Everybody needs to check it out. And how do you check it out? Well, let me just share my screen so you can get the contact information. So we have the website as https://www.label free FREE podcast podcast.com. That's labelfreepodcast.com. And she is on Facebook, Label Free Podcast, YouTube, Label Free Podcast, LinkedIn, Deanna Kuempel. And again, the last name is spelled Kuempel. And Twitter, she's Label Podcast. Instagram is Label Free Podcast. And TikTok is at Label Free Podcast. I'll let Deanna tell you some of the things that you can find when you visit her at labelfreepodcast.com.
Well, you'll see updates from some of my guests that have been on the show. I like to share their words of wisdom. So a lot of motivation, inspiration, any of my different sponsors that I work with, whom I've just got to deal with Brian Tracy. So if anybody is a big reader, they're going to know who Brian Tracy is. So I'm working with him. Just, an updates on my life and different things that I've got going on. I'm very open, I'm an open book. So yeah. All things label free and me.
Awesome. You got to check out her website again, labelfreepodcast.com, or go to YouTube and subscribe to Label Free Podcast. Well, Deanna, it has been just such a pleasure to really hear your story. I'm so glad that you could share it. And as you said, sadly, it's not one that is unheard of, unfortunately. And everybody needs to just band together so that we can make a difference. And you are making a difference. So I appreciate that. Again, thanks for being my guest. One last reminder, everyone, to go to labelfreepodcast.com, check out, and also go to her YouTube site to subscribe. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or visit my website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. As always, I end reminding everyone that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Nettling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Nettling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.